Well, today is day 3 of the trip, and I'm about 270 kilometers from Trondheim now. Covered another 90k today, and I gotta say, today was one of those days which just makes you feel happy to be alive, really. it was it was just fantastic. The day started off with a bit of a surprise, actually, when I opened my tent in the morning. Again, I slept in until about 8 o'clock and opened my tent, and right across from me was another tent, which wasn't there when I went to bed at about 10 o'clock. So I was confused because I thought, well, I guess that person must have come in pretty late. And I saw that they had a bike as well, so they were actually another biker, which was pretty cool. And they had a pretty lightweight setup. They had a nice one-person Hubba Hubba MSR tent, so I knew that they were pretty serious about going fast and light. So they were still in the tent, so I went in and had breakfast. And then when I came out, there was a beautiful young girl waiting at the table for me, and she actually offered me a bar of chocolate to apologize for waking me up the night before. And you know, how can a morning be any better than that, really? But she didn't actually wake me up at all, so I refused the chocolate. I didn't even know that she came in. So she got there at about 11:30 that night because she had a crazy day, which is kind of another story. But she's actually on her way riding up to North Cape. I believe she's starting in Bergen, so that's about 3,000 kilometers, which is a massive trip for anyone, really. So hats off to her. It was amazing to sit, and we just chatted for about an hour over breakfast, which was really awesome, actually. And turns out she's raising money for an organization called Coral Gardeners. And my ears pricked up a bit when she mentioned this, because obviously it's pretty relevant to what I was doing in my previous job at Ames. So we actually ended up chatting for quite a while about the work that I was doing at Ames, and how that's kind of another approach to what the Coral Gardeners are doing. And it was just great to, I guess, talk about some of these things that I used to work on, and pass on some of that knowledge to someone who was really keen. So she's on her own journey. It was a bit of a shame we're going in different directions, but that's how it is. You meet these people every day as a traveler, almost, if you're lucky. And you may never see them again. So I'm grateful that we have a chance to meet people like this, and it gives me hope that the world is full of amazing people, and they're all going to do amazing things, and hopefully I get to meet some of them along the way. So that was a great start to the day, although I did leave quite late because of it, so I didn't get on the road until I think 11 or maybe even 11:30, so it was nearly time for lunch by the time I left. But that was alright because it was another beautiful sunny day, and I was just in such a great mood after meeting Karina in the morning. I just rocketed through all the hills, and it was some of the best landscapes I've seen on the trip so far, actually. It was just fantastic. Just mountain passes and fjords and pine valleys, bridges. It was just fantastic. And there was quite a few firsts that happened today, because shortly after, a couple of hours after I left camp in the morning, it was time for my first ferry. So I rocked up at the ferry terminal, and there was no one there, so I assumed I would just pay once I got on, and eventually the ferry arrived. It was only about 15 minutes wait, which was pretty good. Comes every half hour. And just rolled the bike on with another guy. He kind of showed me where to put the bike, and again had an amazing ferry ride, weaving between the islands. I got some nice photos of that, and enjoyed an ice cream while I had this amazing view. And turns out the ferry is free for cyclists and walk-on passengers, so that was a bonus. And then shortly after that, I arrived in a town called Christiansand, and I was told about this place by a number of cyclists that I've passed so far, or who've passed me rather, in that it's got a very long tunnel, about 5 kilometers long, which has a very big dip in the middle, and it's actually not allowed for cyclists to ride through there. So I was warned by a few people about this tunnel. Karina actually hitchhiked her way through. I was not so successful. I was waiting at the bus stop for quite a while for the bus to turn up, and a few buses stopped and then they kept going, and I was a bit confused as to why they didn't want to take me, because I was standing next to a sign which I'm pretty sure was talking about cyclists getting on the bus. Couldn't be 100% sure, but I was pretty sure. And eventually kind of waved to the driver as he came around, and he opened the door and he said, "Oh, you're supposed to take all your bags off the bike, otherwise no one will take you." So, okay. So I took the bags off, and he was actually going into the city. So I asked him, when's the next bus? And he kind of just looked around, scratched his chin, and then said, "Oh, I'll be back soon." So I sat there and I waited for him to come back, which was only another, 15 minutes or so. But then, we embarked on this amazing ride through this tunnel, which was quite cool. And I certainly wouldn't have wanted to cycle through it, even if it was legal. So that was another first. And then shortly after coming out the other side of the tunnel, I could see that there were dark clouds forming, which I had kind of been dreading throughout the whole trip so far. And so I put on my rain jacket, not sure what was going to happen next. And sure enough, it soon started sprinkling a little bit. It wasn't too bad, but it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And so by the time I felt like I was, really getting soaked, it was kind of too late. All my clothes were drenched, and I was still in a pretty good mood at this point. So I just kept pushing, and I wanted to make up ground today. I was feeling good, and wanted to just keep going as far as I could. The plan was to only go about 70k today, but I thought that was not enough, so I wanted to keep going to I didn't really have a plan, to be honest. I just wanted to keep going until I felt tired, and eventually ended up going about 90k today, because I found this beautiful little camp here on the side of the river. Well, actually it's the ocean, which is amazing. The sun's just going down now, and it's 10:30. So anyway, it started to rain. I was soaked, and then eventually I was getting, my mood was starting to get a bit low, let's say, with all this rain. And so I pulled over in a little bus shelter, basically stripped all my clothes off, completely changed. I dried everything, put all the wet clothes in a bag, and then I just sat there and I had a bit of an early dinner, which was just some melted cheese and some bread, because I couldn't be bothered cutting up all my vegetables and stuff. So I had a bit of an early dinner while I waited for the rain to pass. Thankfully, the sun goes down very late here, so I wasn't really in a rush, which was great. I could just sit back and relax and wait for the rain to pass, which eventually, it didn't quite disappear, but it died down a little bit. So I put on my rain pants for the first time, and put on my rain jacket, which was already soaked, but it did something at least. And I went on my way, and I have to say the rain pants worked quite well. So thanks to George for the recommendation, and all of my work colleagues who generously donated the money for that gift, because yeah, they have come in quite handy so far already, and I expect that I'll have to use them again sometime in the not near future, not too, yeah, sometime soon, because according to the forecast, the rain was supposed to pick up from Tuesday, and today's Monday, so that's not a good sign. So I guess the point was, if it does start to rain, get the rain pants on quickly, otherwise you'll end up with all your wet clothes. But despite that, you know, once I was changed and adequately dressed, the rest of the ride was actually still fantastic, and I saw a few fish farms set up along the coast, which was really interesting to see. Again, with the work I was doing at Ames before this, it was quite cool to see kind of the industry that Norway runs here. It's a different scale to what we have in Australia. And yeah, eventually found this little campsite, was able to have a hot shower and dinner, and even there was even a dryer so I could dry all my clothes. So everything's pretty great, actually. Everything worked out really well. And yeah, it's yeah, as I said, it's about 10:30 now. So I'm gonna read a little bit and then go to bed. And yeah, I'm looking forward to another awesome day tomorrow. See ya.